Hi guys, and welcome back to the Vendor Chef channel. My name is Funzo, and if you're new here, welcome. So on today's recipe video, I'm just gonna be showing you how to make a nice simple beef stew. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're gonna start off with prepping some of our vegetables. So you're gonna peel your carrots and then roughly chop them. Then after the carrots, we're gonna go into the celery. So all I'm gonna do is remove some of the leaves and then leave the whole stem. And then that I'm going to chop up, then transfer into a nice little bowl. So after the celery, I'm just gonna prep the potatoes. Just peel them and then also same thing, roughly the same size, but just a rough chop, but almost the same size so that they can cook almost at the same time. Then I place it into a bowl. Now I didn't show it here, but I place that into some water so that it doesn't change and become that color. And then here is just prepping the onion, cutting it, dicing it, and then putting it into a bowl. So next, this is gonna be at the end of the recipe plus our garnish so that it gives it a little bit of like that, that it looks nice, presentable. Okay, so here these are just the spices I'm going to use. Some barbecue chicken. I know they're the same, but they're not the same. I don't know why, but something about them. And then of course my fave, some curry powder, some tomato paste. I'm not gonna use the whole thing, just a few, and then one cube. You can also just use fresh stock. This is some garlic already crushed. You can use fresh stock, as I was saying, on that one instead of the cube, or you can even use the liquid one, or you can use the store-bought one. Okay, so here there was some oil on that, and then I'm just putting in the meat. Now listen, yeah? Please find quality meat, because here my mistake is the recipe tasted nice at the end and everything, but ShopRite meat, ShopRite beef meat at Pangami, I do not know what they do, but no, it's just not it. By Pangami, Bendat, Limpopo, I don't know what they do, but if you use quality beef, you're gonna be good. So right here I'm just showing that I'm just allowing it to brown a little bit, and I'm moving it about so that it doesn't get stuck to the bottom. But this is me browning it before anything else, just to get that nice flavor and color into it. So again, use good quality beef. So right here I'm just showing the progression of it. I just let it cook. Don't stir it too much, just a little bit, moving the meat around just so that it doesn't get stuck to the bottom or burn just the bottom part while the rest of it is not cooking. Most especially for a pot like this, which is not wide enough. It's mostly like tall but not really wide. So you just move it about a little bit and then I let it cook. So right here it is a nice brown color on some chunks, if you can see it, and I'm just making sure that I move it around. So now listen, so that you can reduce the amount of time it takes for like it took for me, dry out the beef completely with some paper towels or like a clean dishcloth, not a dishcloth, but yeah, and then just make sure you remove as much water as possible. So for me, I cleaned this meat because again it was shady. I don't know what was happening. Even the meat was very much mostly fat. You can see, like, I didn't put that much oil into my pot, but the amount of oil that came out from the meat itself was so much. So I'm just transferring it into a nice little medium bowl and putting it on the side so that I can now add in my onions and celery, and I'm just gonna brown those a little bit. So here I'm adding the onions, and then I'm just moving it a little bit. Now listen, for me, I add my celery here because I don't really like the taste of celery all that much, and I want it to be in there, but for it to cook and be softer than everything else. But if you want to see that green and everything and you're adding your veggies, you can add this at the same time that you add your carrots and potatoes, or maybe like even a little bit when you're about to finish, so that they're still there crunchy and fresh towards the end. So right here I'm adding garlic, my crushed garlic that I bought from the store. You can also use fresh garlic if you want to. For me, that just removes prep time. So, and just moving it a bit. Now I add the garlic not with the celery and onion at the same time, but towards like when I've already cooked a little bit and softened the onions and celery, because it burns easily, that most usually those small ones. And then there I just added my spice, and I'm also gonna add my stock, and then I'm gonna move it a little bit. For me, I like it, you know, when you like, it's almost like you're burning a little bit of the spice, you're allowing it to just do its thing with the other stuff, and like, you know, it's doing its thing, man. So I'm just stirring it. Look at that lovely color. I love it. And most of this color is coming from the turmeric, which is inside the curry powder. Then right here, I'm just squirting a little bit of the tomato paste, and it's just gonna take everything and then gather it up into one little thing. And the reason why I'm putting it here and then I'm gonna allow it to cook a little bit is to remove some of that bitterness from the tomato paste and just leave all that nice sweetness. So like right here, I allowed it to cook a little bit. Some of it got stuck to the bottom, but once you put in the meat and water, it's basically gonna deglaze the whole thing. Now I put in my beef here and allow it to just move within the spices and everything, and I mix it just a little bit. And if you want, you can also just, after you have mixed everything, you can just close the lid, allow that to cook for a little bit, and then stir it again before you add your water, which I'm just gonna do in a moment. So right here I'm adding in the water, and by the way, the measurements for everything will be on your screen, like how much I use, and will also be in the description box. Also, while you're here, if you are liking these videos and you like any of my other videos, please don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, to comment if you'd actually try this recipe or what other recipe you want me to try. So here I'm just adding in my carrots and my potatoes. Now at this point, I'm adding it halfway through when I'm cooking. So I cooked this whole meal about at low heat for about 2.5 hours, like allowing it to simmer. So at this point that you're looking at there, it was about 1 hour 30 minutes or so. So right here I'm showing you to thicken up your stew. You're gonna use some corn flour or maizena, or you can use like normal cake flour just to thicken it up a little bit to whatever consistency you want. So right here it's still a lot more watery, but if you like it like this, you can leave it as is. It is still a little bit, it is a little bit thick, but it is still like somewhat watery. So right here I'm just adding in some of that, and I like using the corn flour or maizena because it doesn't change the taste of the food. Flour tends to, like, sometimes you can taste it if you add a little too much of it, but with the maizena it doesn't. So I'm just gonna stir it up a little bit. Again, with the cornstarch, you're going to use as much as you need for the thickening, so you can start slow and then change it however much you want as you go. So if you find that you found the desired thickness, then you leave it. If it's too thick, you can add some water to loosen it up, and then you leave it to cook a little bit so that it gets even thicker. And then right here I'm just garnishing it at the end. I'm putting in parsley at the end of the recipe, and this when it's off the heat, so that it doesn't burn the whole entire herb. And then I'm just mixing a little bit, and then after this I'm just gonna dish out, and there it is. So I'm just garnishing it to make it, you know, the chef things, you know, just to kind of make it look even more presentable. Look at that beauty. Guys, don't forget to subscribe, to like, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.